don't drink while we're doing this.
Yeah.
Hello, I have a letter for you. It comes from across the country.
Adam's California.
Oh, the Wells Fargo wagon is coming down the street.
Yeah. There's plenty of time to amuse ourselves during the podcast.
We'll have things we want to talk about.
Okay.
What? Welcome into episode 15 of the Jack of the Shadows podcast. I'm your host, Eric VC, and as always, I'm joined by my steel drum corps, Adam and Dave. There we go. Somebody knows what a steel drum corps sounds like. King Friday.
Well, I was like thinking from Seinfeld, where George's dad does the Festivus thing.
Right. There are no steel drums in Festivus. It is not a Caribbean holiday.
There's just a steel bar.
So
that he beats George with in the competitions of the mighty. Yeah.
So this episode, we will be covering chapters 31 through 36 of The Great Hunt, Book 2 of Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series. We'll start as always.
I can't believe we're this far already.
Yeah, here we are. We're almost, we're heading into the home stretch here of this book.
Not really.
We'll start as always with a view from Dragonmount, and then we'll head into Dave's favorite segment, What Shook Your Willow? After that, we'll get Randy before Cairhien, my wayward son. Then a quick chan leads into our wrap-up with Coplin of the Week and Who Leveled Up.
I don't know which I like worse. Let's get Randy, or... I think that might have won. I think that might have finally beaten out the Willow.
Eric has come up strong.
He just makes me feel like I need to take a bath every time he says both those, and I don't like baths.
Now that we've gotten David's underwear out of his butt,
thanks for that. Whatever that was.
Let's once again scale Dragonmount to survey a little of last episode's plot and the plot points for this episode. So last episode, we covered chapters 25 to 30, witnessing Rand Loyal and Hurin's arrival in Cairhien and the adventures they had there while waiting for the arrival of Ingtar. We were introduced to the Seanchan through the eyes of Bael Domon and the White Cloak Joffrey Bornhald. And finally, Ingtar arrived, but not before the horn and dagger were stolen by Podden Fane and or his henchmen.
And lots of elusiveness with Selene.
I like that you said Andor.
Yes, yeah.
Zing!
Hey, this guy.
It's gotten in your head.
So this episode begins in chapter 31 with Rand and the company being guided by Varen to the Great Tree Inn. Hurin arrives and he has traced the horn and the dagger to the new manor of Barthanes Damodred. And the group tries to figure out how to get into the manor before Hurin mentions Rand's invitation as the entrance they require.
When did they move into that new manor? I'm just very wondering what kind of decorations they put on there. But
I think this should just more be a celebration that we don't have Selene in these chapters.
In chapter 32, Rand and his escort enter the manor where Rand interacts with Barthanes and his patrons before once again meeting Tom. In chapter 33, Hurin takes Rand and Loyal to the Waygate through which Fane has taken the artifacts. Rand opens the gate but has to close it using the power because of the presence of Makin Sin, and they proceed to leave the party, but not before Barthanes delivers a message from Fane that Rand must meet him in Tomon Head or Fane will harm Emond's Field.
Reoccurring theme.
Finally, Varen decides the group will head to Stedding Tsofu to try the Waygate that's there as a way to follow Podden Fane to Tomon Head or Falme.
Stedding Tofu. Very different things.
They're gonna enjoy a delicious noodle treat.
Right. So chapter 34 has Tom arriving home after his night at Damodred's Manor to discover his lover Dina murdered in bed before he has to fight off the assassins who are still in the room.
Murdered by pirates is good.
One of the assassins says he's from Damodred, but the innkeeper's Zero reveals that one of them is definitely working for King Galdrian. Tom storms menacingly out of the inn. The following morning, we learn that Barthanes Manor has been razed and he has been torn to pieces. We then sweep to Falme, where Fane brings the chest with the relics to Turok, who foils Fane's plans by opening the chest himself.
Say that 10 times fast. Foils Fane's plans.
Turok then decides to keep Fane around, as he has previously done with Bael Domon. Chapter 35 has the Hunters of the Horn entering Stedding Tsofu, where they are confronted by Aiel, who claim to be seeking for Sung Wood, but Perrin thinks that they're actually looking for Rand. before their confrontation is interrupted by Elder June. Varen follows the elders, and Rand and company await the decision as to whether or not they're going to be able to use the Waygate in Stedding Sofu. Chapter 35 sees the party allowed to use the Stedding's Waygate, only to be blocked by Machin Shin once again. The group tries to decide the quickest path to Fane when Hurin mentions the portal stones.
Path to fame.
And the Eldar Alar tells the party that there is a portal stone nearby. So that was chapter 36, not chapter 35. And
I was confused,
that wraps up our view from Dragonmount. So
Nicely done, Eric, with the summation.
Yeah.
Well done, Eric.
Poorly read, well written.
It was tongue twisters there, so, you didn't get your elocution in beforehand.
Let's
red leather, yellow leather.
Let's stick our fingers in the air now and check the winds with What Shook Your Willow.
I don't think I'm going to do that.
Waggle your fingers in the wind.
Well, I could have said, let's suck on our fingers, stick them in the air, and see what shook your willow. Adam, why don't or Dave, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, Pot and Fane was my moment of the week. I don't even know what to say about this guy anymore. I mean, he's just like, he's just a roving ball of like destruction. He's just, and not only that, he does what he does. He just infiltrates yet another area and wheedles his way into, the company of yet another person. And now he's, potentially trying to target, the Empress, may she live forever, so that, he can get closer to somebody with power. And it's just amazing. He ends up inside in front of this guy just cause, like, he just wanders in. He's going to swear whatever oaths. And by the way, he's probably killed a bunch of people on the way.
This is a
torturing
deliberate
them for
plan.
Information. Well, I don't know that it is. I think his plans come to them as he just goes along. I don't think he didn't set up a plan in the motion to infiltrate the Shan Chan.
I think he
got there.
He does have a plan.
No, his plan was to meet Rand. He got there, found out about them, and then went along with it.
Yeah,
I think that when the chapter opens, his plan is to infiltrate the Shan Chan. I mean, he deliberately looks for the leaders.
He was sitting around waiting for
that was a byproduct of what happened. Yeah. He was waiting for Rand, and while he's waiting, he's like, "Well, let's do this too because I like." Yeah, so because it's the byproduct of whatever his evil is.
We're in agreement that by the time the chapter opens up, he has decided to go and see the Shan Chan. Up until that point, his only goal was to get to Falme and to Lonhead.
And I don't even understand, like, what did he think was going to happen bringing him this present? Like, did he thought someone might be able to open it up and he's going to get his dagger back?
He didn't want someone to open it at all.
Right, he wanted to be the one to open it, but that sure backfired. And I did like I liked the interaction of the fact that someone was a little more canny than he was.
Mm-hmm.
This has been the first time, really, with the exception of Moraine, who is just, the cat's pajamas, that kind of one-upped him. And I loved seeing him being put in his place, even though he's going to murder all of them.
So if we operate with the theory that he is half Pot and Fane and half Mordeth, then we know that
the Mordeth part has to.
We know that Mordeth in the past got control by finding somebody in power and corrupting the entire country through that. Yeah. This seems to be a repetition of that behavior.
Yeah, and then that goes to the question of which I mean, it's two and one. They're one and the same, but they're two different. I don't know with that guy.
Well, I mean, we've got 12 other books to figure it out. And
it's almost like he's got split personality because
yes, he does.
Because he will all of a sudden start talking in different voices and different accents.
Other people have noticed that his accents come and go between like Lugard
and. None of those personalities are any good anymore.
They're all bad.
The one thing for certain.
Point, Egwene was like, he can talk to me like a human being. I don't think he can talk to anyone like a human being anymore.
But I think probably the
other than
he's just so
evil.
He is. He's I mean, and there's just those sections about talking about getting people to talk quickly, and the children talk the easiest, but they don't have anything to say. I'm like, oh no, he's torturing children.
Mm-hmm.
I did not need to know that.
He's killed a fade.
Yeah, that's not a little child.
And he's just putting people in pots for food.
Right. He's feeding his followers to the Trollocs.
Yeah, he is.
Because he wanted a horse.
And
it's exactly it. He wanted a horse, so he killed that woman, and then he wanted information on the Shan-Chan, so he just tortured anybody who comes along.
And he's controlling the second or arguably the most powerful lord in Cairhien. Also, because he's
commanding them.
Yeah, he delivers a message to him to deliver to Rand. So
which he doesn't want to do, but he does it. Yeah,
that's wild to me. We find out like a little bit about Barthanes, and he's this big, powerful guy, and then you find out pretty well fast that he is controlled by Thane, and then.
But yeah, so it's just the guy's just, my goodness, he's
a weasel.
He's like a steamroller. He gets what he wants, but I did like in the fact that he was going to get what he wanted and didn't quite end up quite how he expected it. Though once again, he's going to kill them all.
Well, he says he is. He's run into a pretty big machine.
I can almost guarantee he's going to kill somebody because that's what he does. And
I think that guy that hit him in the head.
He's done
planning to torture him slowly.
Yes.
Well, right.
Yes. He's going to flay him.
Who knows?
We will see. That has yet to be seen. So
that was my thing.
My Willow moment for the week is the steading, and because we finally get to see Loyal's we finally get to see Sofu. We get to see Loyal's family, or not family, but people. His race and
the people of the sun.
How many
get to experience what they're like.
There are in the world.
Probably more than we think.
But way less than there are of just about everyone else except maybe Aes Sedai.
That was a very general statement between the two of us. So no exact number, Adam.
Right.
Nowhere closer number.
Having not conducted a survey, I can't tell you.
Survey
I'm just
says
wondering about the inner family breeding that's taking place.
I'm guessing there's a fair number because they're steading all over the place.
True.
We've heard about a few steading.
5.
But we don't
seem like that. Well, anyhow, that's a dumb question, I suppose.
No, it's not. It's not a dumb question. I think that they're a rare breed, and they certainly keep to themselves. I think Loyal also mentions the fact that people go from or Ogier go from one steading to the next. It's not like they're just breeding from within their steading.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
So they're obviously. I mean, they seem to be pacifists, like the traveling people, the Tuatha.
They're tree huggers. We know that literally.
They also are not necessarily easily influenced by Aes Sedai. Like they obviously give Varen a lot of credence.
They respect them,
but they're not just going to be swayed into letting them use the Waygate simply because Varen wants it, even though she is able to convince them to use it. Then
there's also continue.
Then within the setting, you also have the moment with the Aiel. So you have a big fight that is about to break out.
Fight a Bruin.
And even though several of the Ogier actually say, "Hey, remember the pact,"
whatever that is,
the Aiel don't remember the pact until one of the elders actually comes in and says, "Remember the pact."
Don't you think that would be a moment for us to find out what that pact is?
No, I think there's a lot of.
You would think. I mean, we can draw certain conclusions here.
Presented to us
draw on anything.
I mean, they were. If you remember, one of the Ogier actually tells Ingtar to leave some of the men outside, so she doesn't want so many men within the steading with swords.
I think that just makes them uncomfortable.
But there's obviously some sort of agreement that there's not going to be fighting within a steading.
Yeah.
And then there's the moment of, they're looking for Sung Wood, and we know that we've already run into one Aiel.
The way you say that sounds like they're looking for some wood. Looking for some wood.
Right. It's
Basically,
rare.
they are looking for
Which
some
one?
wood.
It's some wood. It's around here somewhere. Good luck
It's some
finding it. It's some
special
wood. Yeah.
Right. It's a wooden boy.
Right.
So we have this other group of people who have this prophecy, which involves, at the very least, the dragon reborn in some way.
Which people?
The Aiel.
Oh, okay, yeah. They're looking for you, Rand.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So there were a couple of interesting moments that happened within this setting.
Perrin.
And then
I've almost got that down, Adam.
and then we run into Machin Shin in this setting as well. So Adam, you can take it from here.
You're talking about the fact that there's a pact, so there's been no fighting in there. Also, it seems to be keeping out evil.
Why do you
At
say
least,
that?
well, at least in
Hurin-
that particular
Hurin
one,
says there has been no killing.
right there in that
in the place.
particular steading. But I mean, I don't think steading in general keep it out because look what happened in the other steading with the White Cloaks.
I think it's
Are
the
the
pact.
White Cloaks
The
evil?
pact. The pact seems to be.
Well, we know.
Well-
I don't know if necessarily White Cloaks themselves are evil, though. I can most assuredly say that Child Bayar's off his rocker. I mean, he's not all
sure.
there.
Well, the questioners are definitely evil because they're the ones that are killing babies. But
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think that the pact seems to be some sort of agreement involving,
it might be between the
lack of
Aiel
fighting.
and the. Well, it might just be a pact between the Aiel and the.
It could
the
be,
Ogier.
I
Because
think
the humans
June.
knew nothing about it.
Well,
Ingtar didn't know anything about it. And if anyone of
well,
those should know.
apparently neither group knew about it. Otherwise,
Well,
the fight
no,
wouldn't
the
have
Aiel did. Because they immediately apologized about it because they knew and they were shamefaced about it.
The elder actually looks at both of them, though. He says that
Right
he
in
says
the
it's more forgivable of the humans to.
Right, because they didn't know.
I think the Aiel are human also, but
Well, the Aiel, well, I think so, but yeah.
anyway, this pact seems to involve lack of fighting, which would then explain why there aren't any murders done in steading that are actually being used by those.
Hurin has to be super happy about that.
Yeah, he seems to be.
His nose doesn't itch all the time.
You know, he is super happy about it. That's pretty amazing. That's great writing that he just has
It's those
this
details. those
experience
little
in there and
details.
being able to smell wonderful things for the first
Right.
time instead of horror and pain.
Well, it's like going out to the country after you live in a city, and you breathe that fresh air, and you're like, "What is this?" That's probably what he's like. What is this?
Yeah. But even beyond that, yeah. All right, so Eric tossed it over to me. That was a slow toss. I'm gonna knock it out of the park.
Here it is, slow pitch.
Why, that
so
sounds
it's
like the
matcha.
Black
It's just
Wind.
It's just the black. Oh, yeah.
Blood so
Hi,
sweet.
I'm a Segway. Nice
so
to meet you.
Sweet to drink the blood.
Oh, so
blood that
creepy.
Drips so red. Yeah, so
Flay the
this is
flesh.
something we've obviously run across before.
Chew the fat.
Through the last book. And now we're getting presented with it, and it seems to be out of control. Because we're presented with the Black Wind in two different waygates now, and they're just waiting there for it. And on top of that, Rand can hear Althor on the wind. So it seems to be maybe controlled by Thane.
I wonder if everybody else heard their name though. It doesn't really say because we only got it from one narrative.
Sure. Well, I mean, Hurin thinks that Loyal is the one that stopped it, so I don't think that guy would be paying attention to it.
Right.
But yeah, so it's really crazy, and then we're given information by Varen that's like, no, you don't need to worry about this. This stuff is going to be contained within the ways.
Which is not true.
It does not seem to be true.
And no one mentions that
just,
either,
it
which
can't
was
come
really
up.
weird.
Well, Rand is
loath to provide.
Well,
the
Rand's
Aes
not the
Sedai
only
with
one
any
that was
information.
there.
Sure, but Rand is the one
Well,
that was there that stopped it at first.
But Perrin and Hurin.
Loyal argues that it was emerging, and Varen just blows him off.
Yeah.
Because it
He
contradicts.
can't
their
believe those
knowledge.
Ogier. They don't know what they're talking about. Okay, said no one ever.
So it's interesting. Varen, this all-knowing Aes Sedai, is just saying the Black Wind is a creature of the ways and cannot leave them. But it just seems like
Wrong.
this is really bizarre. And so we're presented with these ways and the fact that everyone is horrified with them to begin with to go into because of this, and now it's just waiting there. So is that's something that's been around for how long? 3,000 years?
We don't have a time frame, but a long time.
It hasn't been around for 3,000 years because the breaking is 3,000. Well,
it's been around. The ways were created in the Age of Legends. So.
Right. Yeah. The ways have been around for longer than 3,000 years. But
Okay.
we don't.
So
the Black Wind.
So now they seem to be unusable.
To them, yeah. Well, it is really weird. So you mentioned, Adam, about is it obeying Fane? No. And she points it out someone points it out because Fane, Rand he keeps mentioning to everybody, no, guys, Tolman Head, we got to go there. Fane wants me there. And everyone's like, whatever,
that's
Rand.
that is an interesting question. Like, why, if this is controlled by him, is he blocking him from using that?
Well, right.
That's a good question.
But there's two things that are interesting to me here. So Rand can't reveal the original point of why he knows that Fane's going to be waiting for him on Tolman Head, which is the writings he scrubbed off the door in Faldara, which Varen came in and saw him doing. So he can't say that.
She mentions that. She mentions the fact that there was writing on the wall.
She does,
there.
yes.
She mentions the writing on the wall. She just mentioned the writing on the door, which was Rand was scrubbing off, which said, I'll meet you on Tolman Head. Right. Perfect point to bring that up, but he doesn't. And then there's the letter where he is told, he's given from Barthanas that, by the way, he wants to meet you on Tolman Head. He just keeps telling everybody, oh, yeah, he's going to be on Tolman Head. Well, how do you know this? Oh, I just know. I'm just kind of,
I've heard it.
Right. It was whispered in the winds of Machin Shin. He's going to meet me so Rand, of course, is covering himself up there, but he's not making himself believable, so no one believes him. He's shooting himself in the foot there.
Sure.
But then also, like you were saying, Adam, to your point.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yes, thank you. We know the wind is scared of Fane, and no one brings that up. Fane is immune to it, and the wind's scared of it. I don't know if the wind would obey him. That's kind of a tough thing. It's two separate evils. Of the three evils in the world we know of, there's the Dark One, there's apparently Fane, and then Machin Shin.
Right. I don't think that there's evidence that it is controlled by him, but he can hear his name on that wind, which is very strange.
Right. So maybe the wind is aware of him like other things, it's an evil, so it could be aware of him. It doesn't make sense to me, though, that Fane would be telling him to stop. Fane instead would be like, come on down. You're the next contestant, and I'm going to cut you with the dagger. I mean, it's...
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but Fane tells Turok that
they're following.
They're going to be there any day now, and the only way they could be there any day is if they use the ways.
Right.
So he's hoping that they will be using...
now, as we find out.
Well, right. Fane has never run into a portal stone yet. So
he knows a lot of things. He apparently doesn't know about those, though.
He's got to be anticipating that Rand is going to use the ways.
But Machin Shin's like, nope.
Right, and he's not.
So why is that then? Well,
it's just got a mind of its own, I guess.
This is why I'm sticking my finger into this Willow.
Oh, no.
Who knows how big of a part of this story traveling through the ways is going to be? But
it is an interesting thing. I mean, we don't know.
We've done a lot of talking about Rand, so let's continue on to our Rand segment. That's right. It's time to get Randy.
Oh, no.
Thanks, Phoebe.
Yes.
So we get a lot of development of Rand here, and we get some different perspective on him, which is really interesting. We get Perrin's perspective of Rand as well.
We get Matt, a lot of Matt.
But prior to that, I thought it was interesting. In chapter 31, we still get revelation, or we still get evidence that Rand is still thinking that he is some sort of false dragon.
I think that's throughout all the chapters he mentions it.
I mean, at this point, I'm pretty sure that he's the Dragon Reborn.
I think everyone is sure of that. Perrin's sure of it. Matt's sure of it. Varen probably is sure of it. Everyone but Rand.
But he gets
Well,
he
and
gets into
loyal.
the hot tub and he's thinking to himself,
Hot tub.
that they want to
He's
set
getting
him
hot in
up
the hot
as
tub.
the dragon reborn and use him as a false dragon.
Oh, I'm so tired of the using him thing.
Oh boy.
It's wearing thin.
And then he has a moment. Then he has a moment where he's thinking about Celine, and we get evidence.
He's always thinking about her.
We get evidence that he still, in some way, thinks of himself as being betrothed to Egwene.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, how about when he's talking to Barthanes and he's like,
This guy is
I've got a message from
delusional.
you. And he's like, is it from Celine?
Right? Yeah.
Maybe she wrote me a letter.
Right.
I can keep it in my pocket for 3 weeks.
There
my
is,
gosh.
and then he has that moment where he can swear he smells her perfume, which that's weird. I'm
He
wondering.
is so
Celine
hooked on this
Celine
woman.
is freaking me out.
He feels like she's in the room.
Yeah. He
And then
thinks
he
she's
turns
in the
around
room.
and he's like, you're not in.
Right.
You're not here.
But, and then he's like, but I can still smell you. It
Right.
seems to me that letter that he has is a bit enchanted.
Apparently, that's what Celine's letters are soaked in, like, I don't know what. And Rand is responsive
Kerosene.
to them. Yeah, well,
I think
probably
they're soaked in
kerosene.
some sort of magic to
Magic.
But thank goodness that he actually burnt them.
Yeah.
He did burn them. Yeah, and
I was a little
and
surprised
the
by that.
flames went
Me too.
wonky, and the
Right,
wind
they
picked up.
definitely-
Because it was burning
Wonky.
perfume.
Yeah, right. That's
There was
what it
alcohol on it, and it was
Right.
igniting.
So Rand is still, he has this stupid emotional struggle in his head between his loyalties to Egwene versus his passions for Celine.
Well, he's been
So
in love with
there's
Egwene
that.
for...
I
He's-
would
he's
say
been-
that Celine seems like she's casting spells, so I don't really blame him for that.
Well, it's like, okay,
Oh, maybe
the
You
girl
think
you've
he's-
known forever that you like, and then like it's like all of a sudden he ran into, I don't know, Charlize Theron, and she's like, sorry, Adam, even though you don't like her for good reason. It's
She's real beautiful and very talented.
yes, this is true. And so it's like you all of a sudden she pops into your life as opposed to the girl you've been like waiting to date forever, and you're kind of like, what do I do with this information?
Right. Well, she pops into your life
Well-
and she's throwing herself at you.
Throwing herself at you and be like,
And
but Ren,
She also
think of the
pops into your
power.
life seeming like she's controlling beasts and not scared
The
of them.
power,
So that's a
Rand.
whole other thing.
Right.
The
So
glory.
Oh,
Think
guess
of the
what? I'm
glory,
here
Rand.
outside of the city. Ooh, look, there's a door.
We're back to the door again.
I just don't trust this. I just don't trust her, and I
No.
don't blame
With
him
her
for that
magic
because
letters.
It seems like she has a spell.
casting
cast on him.
spells on you, Rand.
we
Because
get
Rand's doing all right other than that.
Rand is he's starting to interact with
Well, yeah.
Ingtar and Varen as if they're equals, and this is that moment that I mentioned where Perrin is actually watching him interact with them over the dinner table
Yeah.
while they're planning their next step.
And then he's got to deal with cranky pants Matt.
And Perrin is noticing
Well-
for himself that Rand, he makes the
fitting
observation
his
that
coat.
Rand seems to fit the coat that he's been wearing.
Yeah.
That the boy that they were joking with just a couple of weeks ago about how he was putting on airs wearing that jacket now actually seems to fit it. So that's a significant change.
Rand's clothing line. He looks pretty good.
Rand's
He does.
haberdasher.
And there was
Yeah.
another moment, and it was the development of Rand, where it's like they're back in Emmons Field. The boys are all giving each other gruff and grief about stuff, and Matt makes the comment about so and so thought I was handsome, and and Perrin's like,
Oh,
she's
right.
got a face like a goat.
Right.
It was so
Yeah.
funny.
Even though Rand acknowledged
that
to
she was
himself that
almost as
yeah,
good
she was
looking as
pretty.
Egwene, but it was just it's just great capturing kids.
Marissa Eileen.
Kids
Marissa
just giving
Eileen.
each other grief. And
It's
you were
an-
also younger than us.
It's
so
an
there you go.
important moment.
kidding.
It's an important moment because we haven't had a moment like this
A moment of
since
levity, no.
chapter 3 of book 1.
Was it that? No, there's a moment in the inn where they're giving a grief about Elsa Grinwall.
Yeah, no,
with Egwene.
Okay.
These are sprinkled here and there, and it's really nice.
They're,
Yes.
they're,
But it has been
Right.
to your, yes, it
It's
has
been
been
a
a
while.
while.
It's
since
been
we've
a
had that
while.
moment of levity.
so then
Right.
during the conversation in the great tree, Rand tells Varen after they finally talk about getting back the horn, Rand says, yeah, first we'll take back the horn and then the dagger, and then it is done, Varen. Then it is done.
Oh my gosh, He drives me bananas with this. Like, he is like, is he trying to pick a fight? What's he doing? Like, he's so...
It's the Emmons Field stubbornness. He doesn't want to be controlled by them, but at the same time, now he recognizes, and he's even had moments in the last couple of chapters. He had a moment where he wished that Moiraine was there, and then he caught himself.
So do I.
But
all the time.
But he doesn't want them to be around past this thing that he needs to use them for, as they seem to need to use him.
You're not going to set me up as a false dragon, Aes Sedai. You're not going to use me.
There's an awesome moment while they're in the
goat.
grove after they've tried to open the way gate and pushed Machin Shin back into the ways. And Loyal is feeling...
Barthanes' place?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Loyal is feeling guilty about the fact that he didn't act fast enough, and he was scared, and Rand comforts him with what I think should be the motto for this series, which is... He says, we were all scared, Loyal. We may be a poor pair of heroes, but we are what there is.
They're here. Yes.
That's the motto for this series.
I hope they become better than a poor pair of heroes. Like, seriously.
But the fact
Rand,
that
neither of them are.
They are what there is. I mean, that's
what the pattern has spun out at this point.
And they've constantly observed that even though that they can recognize that they're in an adventure, they don't feel heroic. Nothing is fun. They've observed this several times now, but this is a succinct statement of it.
Matt's not having a good time.
Matt's dying.
Well, nobody's having a good time.
Yeah. No,
nobody's having a good time.
Matt is. Matt needs that dagger. Matt needs that dagger bad. Because, better yet, I need Matt to get that dagger because he's driving me bananas.
It's speaking of Rand being tied to the Aes Sedai. Here's another great quotation from chapter 33. Rand suddenly wanted to laugh to find the horn and the dagger if they could be found. Now he had to go back to the Aes Sedai. They had let him loose, and now he had to go back. So even there, Jordan is revealing this sort of constant yo-yo that Rand is kind of feeling right now.
Because they've done so badly by him so far.
So it seems like we're headed to Tomon Head, right?
I wish the readers could see my eye roll right now.
That this is where the book is going to wrap up, is on Tomon Head. I mean, we had the prophecy at the beginning, and we've heard it reiterated several times now.
That was my Queen Trek moment.
So yeah, we're hurtling our way toward Tomon Head, but not before we take a stop in Cairhien with
1, 2, 3.
Cairhien, my wayward son.
Oh, I skipped a scene.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Cairhien.
I love this.
What do you love about it? Oh, you love the title.
Cairhien, yeah.
You can sing it also.
I
that's
can't
fine.
do what you can do.
So first of all, this is mostly chapter 33. And I love the way this chapter begins. We get this personification of Lord Barthanes' manor. So this is a quotation from the book. Lord Barthanes' manor crouched like a huge toad in the night. This is not a good place.
Even mean?
This is not a good place they're going to.
Like, this is your new house?
Your house looks like a toad crouching in the night.
Ribbit.
It's ribbit.
So Loyal mentions that when he passed through Cairhien a year ago,
that wasn't even there.
This wasn't there, and it was owned by Galdrian.
Yeah, that's a quick build.
Right. In the period of a year,
when you got money.
Barthanes has found the money to build this, has bought the land, and has put up this manor.
Oh, and
has
apparently
he found the money though?
Oh, and
because
by the way, he's
the
a
one
dark
that's not
friend.
paying the Ogier, and that's why they're leaving.
And apparently he built it over a waygate.
Yeah, which is
right.
Really
well,
bizarre.
I don't think.
And waygates.
I don't know if they were.
I don't think that's an accident.
I guess they
probably not. Well, and weren't waygates normally? Do we know this? Are they normally in steadings, or are they by steadings?
No, they're in groves. They're in Ogier groves, which are not steadings.
Yeah. Okay.
So Barthanes has become a very powerful guy in a very short period of time, and it's not a coinkydink that he's
about
a
to become
friend.
powerfully dead.
Here's another hilarious moment that I found during the party within the manor that Rand has walked into. There are a couple of acrobats who are performing in there, and here's another quotation. A woman leaped into the air with from the cupped hands of one of her compatriots, her oiled skin shining in the light of 100 lamps as she spun. and landed on her feet on the hands of a man who was already standing atop another's shoulders. He lifted her up, outstretched arms as the man below raised him in some way, and she spread her arms as if for applause. None of the Cairhien seemed to notice.
That happened to Marilyn also.
None of them seemed to notice.
That happened to Tom Marilyn also. He bowed for applause, and they were all like, yeah,
Yes,
whatever.
But this is a much bigger thing. These people are whipping and wheeling around in the air, and then they're done, and they're like, ta-da!
Don't tell Tom Marilyn that.
And
He would
nothing
not
is
think it's
So
happening.
much
much,
bigger.
it's, like things don't change. It's so much like today. It would be like all of those people would be on their phones sitting around gossiping.
Rand does run into Tom here. And
I think I saw these people though performing in Cirque du Soleil.
I'm sure you did. Rand runs into Tom. Tom thinks that Rand is trying to rope him back in. Rand is not. And then it's at that point that Hurin comes and brings Rand out to the gate.
Tom's
So-
kind of sad that he doesn't
Get
want
his
him to be
attention, his
involved.
clapping.
Tom wishes, there's part of Tom that wants to go with Rand, but he reconvinces himself that he's done the right thing and isn't isn't going to be going with them.
Yeah,
He's
Yeah.
verklempt.
it's really
And then-
sad.
Then we have the moment at the Waygate, and Rand comes back, and before he leaves, Damodred whispers in his ear that he's got a message from someone,
Celine?
aka Poddenfane.
Dang it.
Is it from Celine?
Right. And it's that he'll meet him on
Tell me how
Salmon
she
Head.
smells.
I'll see you.
By
on
the
Toman
way,
Head
Another
outdoor.
interesting note here is that several people at the party, including Barthanes, aka Barthanes Damodred, knows of what Rand did coming into the city,
Well, that guy spilled
which
the
means
beans.
that Cal Devlin is working for
Everyone.
Damodred.
I think he's working for everybody.
Well, it's-
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
no,
apparently in
it's-
Cairhien,
Probably.
everyone's
Seems
working
like
for
everyone's
everybody.
working for everyone.
Right.
well,
yeah,
right,
exactly.
But there
Or
are.
themselves.
but
Secrets
rather.
are sold cheap in that place.
Damodred is the one who specifically mentions the moment outside the city gates with what we now know as a sangreal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was an
Um,
interesting moment.
So yeah,
Speaking of interesting
that
moments,
Cal Devlin guy.
and Damodreds, is it just me, or why has no one mentioned Moiraine at this point? Because that's Moiraine Damodred. You would think someone would be like, oh,
Yeah.
I know a Damodred. Her name's Moiraine. We kind of hung out a little bit. No one's mentioned that at all.
Also, yeah,
That person
especially
should
when
be
people are
Rand,
we're
because
just
Varen's
remembering
certainly
names
not
left
going.
and
Rand,
right.
parent, well, Rand, because Rand's talking to him. But yeah, no, doesn't get mentioned. I find that odd.
Yeah, so do I.
It is a bit odd. Probably
Tame.
should have been covered.
Mhm.
So Tom leaves early in the morning and
Early in the morning.
heads.
Wait though. There's another instance of just Huron talking about the fact that all of the servants are just willing to sell their masters,
selling
for-
it cheap. And not only that, they're telling like strange things of what their masters are doing. Like, I'm
Right,
curious,
exactly.
what was
So
that?
This is just corrupt through and through.
Yes, it is filth and foul and
Yeah.
filth.
Yeah.
It's good. It's just a good example of showing exactly the fact that this is essentially their god is.
Well, they've all created this
game.
glossy veneer facade of like they're all very reserved and very prim and proper on the outside, even though they say and do horrible, terrible things.
It's a Victorian
Yeah, it
society.
makes sense. It's everywhere.
So
it's just everywhere.
I like you mentioned the culture. You get a very different feel, and he does such a good job of creating the culture of Cairhien is so different than Andor, and Camelin, for example. So you get this feel of that you are in a different place, and these are different
Absolutely.
people. It's just very well done.
It's through that. It's through actual physical appearance. It's through what people are wearing.
Yeah, their dress is
Clothing.
completely different.
the Cairhien are small, pale-skinned, dark-haired. Their clothing is pretty simple. It's high-necked, but it has these slashes of color. And apparently, the more
According to rank,
slashes you
yeah.
have, the more wealthy or powerful you are. So those are, some
Don't
of the
wanna live
defining
there.
characteristics of the society. And then culturally, every caste of the society seems obsessed with the great game, which brings us really nicely to Tom's final moments in this episode, in that he returns from Damodred's Manor and is about to go perform at the Bunch of Grapes when he decides, you know what, I'll
Bunch of
go
Grape.
and see Dina back at the Great Tree before
Welcome in.
I leave. And he goes in and walks in to find her dead, and her two assassons are still
Not
there
only
in the
that,
room.
he was saying to himself,
He's
Right.
going to let her
This is the
perform.
Yeah.
"This is the night. I'm going to let her perform. She's
This
done
is the
she's done her
night.
due diligence.
Right.
Such
Yeah,
a
what a
beautiful
wonderful night. Oh, there's
night.
my darling with her throat slashed.
Terrible.
And apparently she dies because of
Him.
Tom talking to Rand. At least that's
Seems
what the
like.
one assassin says. He coughs up a bunch of stuff that he is working for Barthanes. And then after Tom kills both of them, the innkeeper comes in and she reveals that the one guy that Tom killed first is actually working for the king.
Galdrian, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we
No
don't.
good.
Now we have no idea. I mean, it seems to me, my theory here is that one guy was working for Damodred, because the guy who's talking about Damodred is pretty convincing.
You sure
But-
he has a knife to his eyeball?
Right. He might have said anything at that point.
But he had a lot of details. So Tom was hell bent on going off to kill Barthanes. And then
they find out it's
Zira
Galdrian's.
says, "Hey, this is Galdrian's person. Let's not be stupid here.
To
He's
kill a
the
king."
And Tom runs out with menace, in his eyes.
He needs to pull a Jon Snow.
And
Kill a queen, kill a king.
and that's where we leave Tom. Except we do find out that the following morning, Barthanes' manor has been burnt to the ground, and he's been
dead.
ripped to pieces.
Quite dead.
So there's that.
Can we just give some respect to Tom, though? He took care of those guys
TCB.
real quickly.
Tom is
I
no.
mean, he missed
lily
with
of
one
the
the
valley.
daggers, but it didn't
Yeah,
matter because he
he's no
took him down
slouch.
anyhow.
Yeah, he
And this is all done with one bad leg.
That gammy leg is not slowing him down.
For-
I love that though. It's such a good description because right before this happens, he was like really excited to get
He was
back up
jovial.
there. He's trying to take stairs two at a time. He's like, "Oh, can't
Right.
do this."
He
I
had
got
a
this gimpy
spring in
leg.
his step,
He did. He was all proud about it.
and then his step was sprung.
He still just whipped those knives really
He did.
well.
He
It's
did.
impressive.
Yeah, it's so
Sorry, Eric,
impressive.
I just
maybe
wanna say-
maybe he can Chan Chan Chan. We learn a lot about the Shan Chan through Pod and Fane. So he comes to Turok with this whole story of being an ancient family that's had the horn in their possession for centuries. He knows that the Shan Chan are true. I mean, I think there was some debate last week we had whether or not they were actually descendants of Arthur Hawkwing.
Hawkwings, yeah.
Thane observes that their banner is actually the symbol of one of the sons of Hawkwing. So we get that. And then Thane makes several interesting observations just about the culture as he's being ushered in, as he's looking for ways to sort of infiltrate this society. And I think the first thing that I can remember him observing is no weapons are allowed to be brought into the presence of this lord, let's call him. So
I'm not a lord, Perrin.
Also, hats off to him for the fact that he wasn't scared of the I don't know if we're calling them Grolm at
The
this point,
Grolm.
but the beasts.
Oh, 'cause he's not scared of anything.
right.
Yeah, but it's crazy. It's a good representation of that because the guy's like,
Why aren't
That's
you scared
odd.
of them? Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, they'll do my bidding. Don't worry."
So he makes that observation, and Turok describes their society as well to him and the sort of punishments that they dole out for people who disobey. Obviously, there's a whole lot of protocol involved in how you can address these people and
Silence,
where you have
dog.
to bow and all of that sort of stuff. It's
Yeah.
just a very austere society that seems to be just predicated on fear, because Turok then talks about the fact that there are these people called the listeners,
Yes.
and they just it's not.
No, it's the listeners.
And they are just riddled throughout the court, apparently. And all they do is spy on people for the Empress. So you live in this society.
yeah, you don't know who they are.
Right, you don't know who they are. So you're
it's
just
it's
constantly in
basically
fear.
Yeah, it's like a Michelin rating.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You just don't know
Except
who they are.
you die if you don't get it. So they're this society that is just based on fear and war, apparently.
We've heard of those before.
Yeah. Yeah. Those Shan-Chan, they're something else.
They seem a bit like the chosen people that they come from, coming back to claim their own land. So it's a little like you have reason to be self-righteous. No, so correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like, so these are the people that came from across the sea.
Yes.
And they're coming back to a land that they think is their own.
Because they're descendants of Hawkwing, yeah. And it was Hawkwing's empire at some given point.
Hawkwing, and it's very weird that they're presented in this way that doesn't seem good. They're taking over villages, they're taking children.
They chain women who can channel.
When are they taking children? Oh, they're taking the girls.
Right. Yeah, they're taking the girls. They're specifically doing that.
But at the same time, we've had
to be the chosen people.
We've had scenes where people are walking around freely in their societies once they've taken the oaths.
Unless you can channel.
And unless you can channel, and they're able to wear swords and go about their daily routine.
But it also sounds like if you don't, you're dead.
Yeah.
There's no leniency.
If you don't, you're placed in a bag and you're hung
right.
up
You're hung up to dry.
Well, but there are plenty of invaders that just come in and wipe out everybody. They don't seem to be doing that. They seem to be creating a benevolent dictatorship.
Very pragmatic about it.
This is the great thing that Jordan does here, is that he does not take sides. Even in the
White Tower is going to take sides,
or atrocities that certain parties perform, there are still positives. We get Jeffrey Bornhold within the White Cloaks, who seems to recognize the evils that the Order is committing, while still also doing things for his own purposes, for things that we as readers probably view as right. The Shan-Chan are chaining up Aes Sedai and women, but at the same time, once they're not coming in and killing a bunch of people and taking over a territory. They're intimidating them until they take the oaths. But once these people take the oaths, they're free to go about their lives as they were before. So they're not burning and pillaging and raping. They're taking back what they believe to be theirs.
Unless you can channel, then you're enslaved.
Unless you can channel.
And treat it like a dog.
In very somewhat delicate ways so far. That's a really good point, Eric, is that he's just showing that
he's showing every side slightly favorably.
Yeah, I mean,
these people.
It's not, this isn't like reading journalism, but he has a journalistic approach to these societies. The Shan-Chan appear to be bad guys to us, but that's predominantly because we just started here. If the story had started in Shan-Chan, we very well may view them as individuals who are coming to a foreign land and inheriting what is rightfully theirs.
Yeah, sure, I don't know.
But I mean, we're being presented with the facts that we have, and the fact that we have is that they're
the facts we have are not good about them.
Leashes, which doesn't seem like a great idea.
That's one element.
That is a very, very large element.
And then they also have
because they use those women to dominate and destroy everything in their way.
I mean, Eric.
Yeah, they use them as a weapon.
Is saying that they're not. They could have.
Sure, they treat the common people well,
boat, which there are a lot more of.
Yeah.
I mean, they could have. Yeah, it seems they could have done a whole lot more evil than they do. But it just seems. Yeah.
It's built to me. It seems it's built on the basis of something fundamentally wrong.
Seems like it, but
you don't get through.
See what you're saying.
You don't get through Jordan's narrative that these people are bad. Jordan doesn't discuss them in ways that are pejorative or vilifying. I don't know about that. He reports the facts, but he's not taking sides.
No, you're absolutely right. He's not taking sides. However, I'm going to take a side because it doesn't make any sense for me to think they're okay because their whole basis is based off of slavery to use as a weapon to dominate everybody else. I'm not going to be behind that.
As of now, we don't have concurrent evidence that there have been
It's interesting.
absolute horrors that have taken place. I will wait on that to see if that actually does take place, but it seems like they are being presented in a way that does not seem very good. Although,
well, the capturing of children and leashing them is pretty awful.
Like what David is saying, if you have a woman on a silver leash, it just doesn't seem like not a good look.
Right. This does not look good for me.
Speaking of not a good look, who is your Coplin of the week, Adam?
For me. Okay, mine's Ingtar.
Oh, that's a good choice.
Okay.
He's losing it.
Greedy for the horn. That's all he cares about.
Yeah, he's becoming unhinged.
And he gets to the point that he gets called up by Hurin about it, and he's like,
that's not how we are.
That's not how we do. I just hats off to Hurin.
Yeah,
I kind of love that guy.
Yeah,
but yeah, Ingtar is just being really uncomfortable about his greed for this horn.
Yeah, I don't know that it was greed at the beginning, but it seems to be getting there.
Like it now.
Yeah, it's definitely becoming.
Well, greed is normally like a personal thing. I don't know if this is personal with him. It's just like it's.
You can't say it's not.
It's being presented in a way that Matt was being presented in a way of that he's always like, but the treasure. Is there treasure here? And that wasn't good.
Well, yeah, but now it's like Matt. But okay, good comparison to Matt. It's like Matt with his dagger. It's like and that's the way I feel about Ingtar. It's he needs it for his life. It's like it's.
I don't know what he needs it for.
Neither do I, and that's my thing with the greed thing. Is it doesn't feel like greed to like amass something like you're greedy. You want to amass treasure.
Sure,
like Matt was initially. It's like something else weird.
It's an obsession.
Yes, an obsession. That's a great word.
And Matt is my Coplin of the week.
And mine.
He is getting. Man, he has a penchant for just saying the most annoying thing at the most annoying time.
I like how Perrin smacks him.
I felt like he actually did better this week.
Oh gosh, I think he's descending into madness.
He's the first person when they're to really blurt out, "Oh yeah, he who comes with the dawn." That's probably you, Rand.
Every time he talks to Rand, he's got to disparage him about going crazy.
Yeah, he's
Perrin
constantly like, no. Perrin is not like, are you going mad? You're not going crazy right now.
You're not going to kill us, are you, Rand?
Hey, you just started yelling at this party. You're not going insane and about to self-immolate, are you?
Sure.
Like that's mad.
You're going to kill us all, aren't you, Rand?
Right.
Are you at that point yet, Rand?
Yeah.
Oh,
can I just?
Did no one not know that you could channel Rand? Oops, I let that out.
The reason I feel like he did better this week is because when Rand told him, "Oh man, the dagger is gone," he dealt with it fairly well. He didn't get after Rand for that. He just said, "Well, I didn't have it to begin with.
Yes,
not that big of a deal.
I would agree.
We can get it.
I would agree. But that one moment of equanimity is far outweighed by the constant nuisance.
So Matt has been terrible for a book and a half.
Yeah.
So to me, I was like, oh, maybe you're showing some growth here. Maybe you will be a different character. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
one can hope because I can't take it much longer.
Yeah, he's always like, Rand, you're gonna go crazy.
Right. And he says it in that voice.
Kill us all, Rand.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. It's time for Who Leveled Up.
Boom, 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 boom.
My Who Leveled Up this week is Hurin, who, David, you just talked about how awesome he...
That was Adam.
Oh, well, no.
But I backed him up.
Yeah.
I love me some urine.
That sounded like I love me some urine.
Maybe I'm peeing right now. Maybe I'm not. No big deal.
NBD.
He calls out Ingtar. He's the one who mentions Rand's letter, Rand's invitation from Barthanes. He is the one who finds the Waygate. He is the one that discovers that the dagger and the horn have been taken to Barthanes' manor in the first place. And he is the one who mentions the portal stone and that might be a way for them to travel. So he
really is. He's really excited about
one
it.
He has the 4 major turning points of this section of chapters here.
Yeah.
So 3 cheers to Hurin.
I love Hurin.
Yeah.
My level up
Hurin.
was Tom Bombadillo. Oh, did I say Tom Bombadillo? Tom Maryland.
Tommy Bombadil.
Mm-hmm. Tom Maryland. Because like Adam was talking about, he mows those people down. He's menacing in his soft-spokenness. And poor Tom, he had a rough go of it this week.
Oh, it's so sad.
He did. He doesn't get any applause at his performance at Barthanas' manor.
And
His
you know it
girl
was good.
gets mauled.
Yeah, his young apprentice.
Yeah.
Dina, pour one out for you.
Yeah. Pouring out for the homie Dina.
Yeah.
Moment of silence for Dina.
And then he has to fight off 2 assassins in a very confined space.
Watch out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It is a confined space, but he does it in
Small deadly space.
half a second.
He does it with aplomb for sure.
Yeah.
He sure does.
Tom's my boy this week.
All right,
Tommy.
that leaves you, Adam.
That's me. I'm going with Rand. It's been a while
You're
since I
taking my
picked Rand,
choice. Yeah.
but he held off the Black Wind on his own,
Using the
And
power, nonetheless.
using the power.
And he
Well,
didn't
I
go
mean,
crazy
on
and
his
kill
own.
everybody.
He
Unlike
didn't
Matt
go crazy
thought.
and kill everybody. Also,
3 cheers.
like you were mentioning before, Eric, Perrin was talking about the fact that, and
Poor
everybody else
Perrin.
honestly was talking about the fact that he can pass off as a noble because he's becoming more and more.
Self-assured.
He's growing into his clothes.
It's a kind of an odd self-assurance, but yeah, he is. And then also he uses the cat crosses the courtyard.
Right.
Right. It's
to
back
walk with
again.
Bart.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah,
It's
his
back again.
performance
It's coming
with
back around
Barthanas
again.
is pretty awesome.
It's fantastic.
He holds his own
he's
playing the
he's
Game
like,
of
"Oh, wait,
Thrones.
what
I
are
mean,
these, what are these sword moves? I
Dies
want to
Daemar.
see someone walk like this.
Yeah, I like how
I feel like it's
Barthanas
Idris Elba
recognizes
would be
that.
the one that would be walking like the cat crosses the courtyard.
I didn't know Andurin was so good at the game of
Yeah,
houses.
so he's doing that, and then
the Game of Houses.
yeah, those are those are the reasons that he is also. I just feel like he leveled up in a point that his leadership is getting pretty strong, and it seems like he
Yep.
should be wearing that sword.
Yeah.
The sword no longer wears him. He wears the sword.
Yeah.
We have reached the end of another Jack of the Shadows podcast. Join us next episode when we will cover chapters 37 through 42.
Oh, the goodness it will be.
Oh, the goodness it will be.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, bye.